All right, guys, we are back out at the property out here in East Texas, and we have a cool front. It is a cool, chilly 85 degrees and 70% humidity, so the feels like I think was 94 or 95 degrees. So for this time of the year, that is pretty nice. It's still sticky and nasty, but it is much better than it feels like of 105 or 110. So we're taking the opportunity to get some things done today because it is a little bit cooler. Today, though, I will be doing some general updates of just stuff going on at the camp out here in East Texas. So let's get at it. So today, one of the things on the list, this is my Mahindra 5145, and it is an absolute workhorse. But something I'm dealing with right now is this. We have got another, this is my second blown hydraulic line. You can see right there, it is broken out, leaking, and it's making this inoperable because it leaks all the time. It just leaks worse when you're using the implement. So I do have a 36-inch hose. I'm hoping, because I believe that it does meet that junction right in there. I hope. So this hose has already been replaced. This was a 48-inch, and just based on the extra foot there, if this goes to the same exact junction that that does, then a 36 should be fine. This thing has been awesome, and we wouldn't be anywhere near where we are today without this. The grapple is an absolute lifesaver. I've got the dealer to put on the WR Long third function, and I went ahead and got the Titan grapple with it. This is a massive, it's probably oversized, but this does have enough power. This is a 45 horse. It does have enough power to use this quite well. I want to say at the pin, the lift capacity on this is somewhere in the 3,000. It's rather 28 to 32, if I remember correctly, on the pin up front for lift capacity. So we do lose some with this because I know this is an extremely heavy grapple. But in the couple of years that I've had this, I think I've only taken off this grapple one time to put on the bucket, and that was just because I had never done it before, and I wanted to go through and kind of see how difficult it was to swap over implements. But this stays on all the time because, as you can see, we are out in the pines. Tons and tons of pine trees and just trees in general, and this will pick up any of the tallest pines that I could find that are up in the upper areas. Now, when I go down to our creek bed that's stream fed, there are some very old pines and oaks and beech trees that are well above the capacity of this picking up the entire tree. But anything up here like these are, I'm gonna say, probably in the 40 to 45, 50 foot range, and they're generally about, I'd say, probably 14 to 18 inches across. This thing will pick up the entire tree. So it is a workhorse, but the hoses I've seen from Mahindra have not been the greatest. So getting another hose put on there. I have broken quite a few valve stems on the front tires just from backing into logs and branches that have wedged up onto the edge of the valve stem and broke it off. So that's been a bit of an issue, but that's more user error than anything. I absolutely work this thing to death. And on the back, we've got our box blade. As you can tell, it's been fairly mutilated from backing into trees. And if you notice right there, we are missing a tine. The first day I had purchased this, had no idea what I was doing, and I didn't know what I was in for. And I had these tines down in the ground, and when this was thinned at one point, they cut them down flush to the ground, and I was cruising along at probably a speed that I shouldn't, and it grabbed a hold of that tine and absolutely ripped it right out of there. So that's one of the projects that we got going on today. Awesome machine, just needs a little maintenance. And if you look here, we have made a little bit of progress on the container. We've got a door in, we've got it sheathed up front. I did go ahead and cover both the window seal with flashing tape, and also down underneath the threshold. Actually, this piece is just sitting in here, but if you look under there, I've got flashing there, and I've got this tape actually run all the way along to protect the untreated wood that runs across here from wall to wall. So that should add a little bit of a layer of protection in case any water, mud, snow that happens once every 10-15 years out here, any of that gets up here, I have at least a layer of protection. So now this door is flipped around. If you notice, this is a inside right-handed door, but when you flip it around, it's an outside swinging left-handed door. Now, typically you wouldn't want to do this on a house because of security reasons. It does put your latches on the outside, which I do still. I'm running 3-inch large decking screws into the 2x4s to hold it, but this is definitely not the most secure, but that's not really a concern for us because we've got the big doors. The big doors is what's really the security. While we're here, I doubt that we'll have visitors, and if we do, they probably won't be of the nefarious kind. So we got the door in. It took a lot of work because nothing is level, and so underneath this threshold, I had found some YouTube videos that you could use butyl tape to do some leveling. So I've got like some short strips of butyl, and then longer all the way across to smooth it all out. That's to raise up this left because I believe there is a dip, just a slight dip in the container. And so I wanted to level it out so that there wasn't a void underneath the threshold on either side. So got that mounted in, shimmed up. You can kind of see shims still there, and there. There's one sticking out behind there. This was just put in on the last trip out here. So, and then I kind of mocked this up. I've got one screw in this, but I do have a little bit of tweaking to do on this one panel. As you can see, I've left a small gap along the top of that panel, and also this panel that's for caulking, and also you can caulk all the way down the side. But I'm going to do the same. I may be able to cut the ends off of these shims here, drop this panel down just a little bit. That'll help clean up that gap right there. And then I may take just a smidgen off this corner of this wood here so that I can drop down and get just a small gap across the top there, just so I can seal it up. And so I will be caulking all the way around. I want this to be as absolutely air and watertight as possible. And yeah, so Today I am hoping to throw up this window and get this in. It's actually already been in once. If you see here, I've got some screw holes where I've taken it out. That's because I needed to do some adjusting. I had to open up this hole a little bit for my outlet. That's going to be my outside GFCI plug. And this panel is very temporary, and I have to kind of do some thinking. Actually, I'll show you from the inside to kind of show you the dilemma that I have at the moment. So, if you notice, we've got a couple of wires here. This one here is going to be powering an air vent that will go from here outside. And this one here is meant for an outside light, which goes to our light switch right here. And a complication that I am currently running into is it's several issues. So one, I've learned that I really shouldn't be using this cavity as a airflow. Because the plan was to have a fan on the inside wall and a vent on this outside panel. The issue with that is being like it is right now, 70% humidity. It's like this all year long and higher, sometimes all the way up to 100% humidity. The point of this vent is to remove the humidity from inside the container when I won't be using a window unit. The window unit will help dry the air, but when I'm not running that, I'd like this to be sucking out the hot air that is sitting at the ceiling level and the moisture out of the inside of the container. So I can open up that back window, just like I've got now. I've got a couple of fans to create some cross flow, bringing in cooler air, and then over here, I am trying to drive out the hot, moist air. The issue with that is I've created a potential mold box, and I thought about potentially throwing in foam board or painting it or anything like that to try and mitigate that. But what I've come to terms with is I'm probably going to go ahead and get a register box to put into here, and I'm going to have to get that in an insulated register box, because the fan that I have is an actual register booster fan. It's designed to help redistribute air to vents. It creates a little bit of vacuum inside of a duct to bring more air into a room that may not be delivering as much air as it should. So it's 4 by 12, and then I have my other vent that I purchased that's going to go on the outside. I believe this is it. No, that's not it. You have to excuse me, this place is a bit of a mess. Here it is. This is an actual RV vent. There you go. Here's a little picture of it. It's like that. And this will go on the outside. And if you notice, there's a little clip at the bottom, so you can actually close that flap and stop the air. So when I don't want the ventilation and I'm trying to air condition this, I'll be able to just turn the little latch, close that flap, and keep in as much air as possible. So this is the external air vent, and then I'll have a powered vent inside, and it's essentially just a thermometer with two PC style fans that I've actually turned. They were designed to pull, and I flip them around on both sides, and so they'll suck out. So I'd rather not have mold growing in here. So my idea at the moment is I've ordered a 4 by 12 register box. So it's designed, you put it in an attic on the wall, and then that's your conversion from the duct to your air vent. And so I'm going to try and put it in there. It is 4.5 inches wide, so being that studs are 3.5, 3 3/4 inches wide, I'm gonna have to do a little converting here with some thin wood, maybe 1/4 inch, something like that, to make that work. But I really don't want to deal with mold, so that's going to be a little bit of a work in progress, and that might actually hold me up just a little bit on actually getting this place insulated. Because of that, I haven't decided if I'm going to leave these, I don't know what they're called, kickers or whatever, here in these places, or if I'm going to move them in and actually box in the register box. And if I do that, that's going to change a little bit of the location here. And if you notice, there's a seam in the wood there, because this wasn't planned, but this is exactly the width of one 4x8, 4 feet wide piece of plywood. It did have to be cut for height, but width came out exactly, I mean, almost exactly. It's within 1/4 inch shy of the edge of the door. So that's good and bad, because there's one less cut. And then I decided, because this is just a straight piece here and an overhead piece, I went ahead and cut the straight piece and turned this into a multi-piece. Obviously, if this is a house and you wanted to keep everything as seamless as possible, you would have cut this out of one single piece continuously. But the idea is I'm probably going to do a vinyl or a laminate flooring vertically, well, I guess horizontally, but vertically up the wall. I'll be putting flooring boards and then glue with tack nails and run it up. The only issue I have is I need to make sure that the flooring I get has enough different pieces that I'm not going to see too many repetitive designs, being that flooring, generally you're going to stagger like a half a board one way or the other, and you'll have seams back and forth. Well, this is a 4-foot stretch. I'd love to just be able to put board all the way up. And the downside of that is if I have 4 designs and I have to double the boards twice, there's a good possibility you're going to see copy and paste on this wall, and I'd rather not see that. Now the sides, not a big issue, because I can cut small strips and rearrange them, and that won't be so noticeable. This could potentially be noticeable, so I'll be on the lookout on thicker pieces, like wider pieces with at least maybe 6 different variants would be nice of designs on it, so that I can cover nearly this entire area, maybe have a repeat of 1 or 2 boards, but otherwise keeping that as a nice flow. So anyway, back to what I was talking about this board. Sorry, my ADHD gets the better of me sometimes. I have reached kind of a stopping point on finishing this out because I need a box here outside, and I have decided to put in an electrical box and not a light box, because I'd like the idea of having an outlet up here, and I could put a night light in for an ultra low wattage, basically just a light just to see the front of this from outside, or I could plug in one of those pendant lights, magnetize a hook to the roof, and then have it just a short drop down and basically like a pendant light out here. And so putting in an outlet really opens up my ability to do different things with lighting versus your standard light box up here. And also, a standard light box takes up a substantial amount of area. And if you notice, I need an outlet here for the vent. So I'm gonna need a box right next to each other. And unfortunately with a light box, which actually I think I have one right outside here. Yep. I have a light box. that was up here, or it was supposed to be up here. And if you notice, it takes up a pretty good portion of the space. Doesn't leave much for anything else up here. So more than likely, it's going to be outlet facing in, outlet facing out. Two different circuits, one switched, one's going to get constant power. And the vent having constant power is not a big issue because it can be controlled remotely or at the vent. So it does have that capability. So that is a conundrum. If you've got any suggestions on especially this transition from vent to somehow having an insulated pass-through, getting out here without getting too complicated and expensive, I would suggest, I would take any suggestions on that and definitely look into that. So, but otherwise, inside of here, not a lot of change. Actually, I can't think of any other changes that I've done in here. We are close. The next time my wife comes out, what's on the list is getting this out and getting in this this disconnect box, and I will be tapping right through the back of here, going into this disconnect box. That'll get mounted and sealed up, and also putting in a box over here for solar, to get solar in and out. Once I do those are going to be the last protruding things through the walls other than this, which allows me to get spray foam. And that is the biggest milestone that we are trying to get to by this winter, is to get this entire thing spray foamed. That will make this a much more manageable space. You get that window in. I'm not sure if I'll trim this door out yet, or maybe just do maybe cut some strips off of a 2x4 and just kind of partially trim this out, just so I can foam the cracks as a makeshift trim temporarily, just so I can get the front sealed up and get all of the rest of it insulated. You get to that point, it's going to be a whole different ball game camping out here. I can move all of this into one side or move it all back into that back room, and I have got a nice, comfortable area that I don't have to worry about bugs and absolutely freezing out here, because you want to be hunting on the cold days for processing meat. That's when you get the most movement of the animals. And so when it hits in the high teens or 20s, being in here right now is literally like trying to sleep in a refrigerator. It's brutal, and especially on an air mattress. So the idea is if I can get to the point of having this spray foamed, I move all this back into the back bedroom while I'm doing my hunting season. And I can I've actually got the insulation still for the floors. I can go ahead and throw a couple of pieces down to give me some insulation off the floor. And I may not wake up absolutely aching because it's so freezing cold in here. So that is our goal on that. And like I said, hopefully I can get that window up today. It's a little bit of a large window, and it's really not large, but I've already got the holes that my wife came out and helped me hang it the first time, but I wanted to really secure this place. I wanted to silicone the window in. I know it's all overkill because this is all covered. It's not getting wet, anything like that. But being with an air conditioner going on there, I really want all of this to last as long as it can. So yeah, that is where we are right now. Nothing's changed with the outhouse yet, but I have had an idea. What I'm going to do is, because this land is so uneven, like it looks fairly flat, but it's not. It's all over the place. the idea that I had is to go ahead and cut the deck off, to cut the front area of the deck off. So from this board right here, this split, cut off here and over there, and actually remove this portion. This is nice for this because, you know, obviously it's a nice place for you to stand and not be in the dirt and things like that. But I could probably use this little section for other things, like putting a barrel. I don't know if you can see over there in the distance. I've got some barrels. There's a IBC tote back in there, and I could use this to put next to this that's not attached, that I don't have to level 8 continuous feet. I only have to level 4 and maybe a half of a foot, and that really opens up my options and be able to get a good spot for this. And I'm not 100% sold on this exact spot because this is a huge dip. I don't know if you can tell, but this area here, all over here, is probably 4 feet plus above where this is sitting. This rolls up this hill, and so a lot of water's coming down this way. And from my research, water is one of the things that you want to really keep out from your outhouse, that will cause the demise quickly from the pit itself. So what I'm kind of thinking is if I can get it over between these trees. I'm not sure on location yet. This is okay at the moment, but I'm up for other suggestions. So anyway, that is on the outhouse. We still got to put the pieces of wood to completely straighten out the roof overhang. We are going to work on that soon. That probably won't be today. We need to kill some of these weeds and things back so I can have a little bit better transition path to over there. But little update that I don't think I've actually showed on the channel is I'd like to show the new area that I've made for hunting, to put a blind. So we've had this property about 3 years, and maybe 3 or 4 years. I've hunted it twice in the brutal cold. 1 year in a tent, and you know what? I think 2 years in the container, absolutely freezing. And I have a field that I've cleared that's about a half an acre. It doesn't seem to get the most traffic there, and so what I've decided is, after lots of research and understanding more of the flow of the animals through the property. So if you look down there, that is my half acre down there. There's a oak tree and a big clearing right down there. It's about a half acre. So camp's back that way. We've got a clearing back that way. And out here deep in East Texas, this is a very hilly terrain. Not near as much as like Central Texas is, but it's definitely not flat plains. But as you can see here, what I'm walking up on, I cleared this the other day, right before I blew the hose on that transmission. I mean, on the tractor. I cleared up this area, cleaned it up, because I'm really liking this spot over here for getting a new deer blind. And I've had one of those Tidewee pop-ups. It's worked fine, but the goal is to build a real deer stand, and this is the spot for it. So I'd like it to be right about here. And if you look through these woods, there's a strip of woods all the way down there. It's a bit hard to see, but I'll actually walk it in just a second. This is probably about 60 to 70 yards, which is actually quite a far distance to be open for a shooting lane out here, because obviously everything looks like this that I haven't touched. Everything. All of this looked just like this right where I'm standing. So I've opened this little area up. And I'd like to put, like I said, right up here on this little slope. It's not a terrible slope, but it's probably a foot or two higher on the right than it is the left. I'd like to put like a 6x8 stand that's maybe 3 or 4 feet tall up here that looks back down this strip. So if you look at the topographic layout of this property, there is a horseshoe going back this way that comes back around and wraps back all the way back that way. And that is where the big trees, the old trees, are. The 2 deer sightings that I've seen while here on this property have been here and right over there. So if you notice, you take a look here, blind would go there. This follows the edge of what we call the cavern, or it's a fairly steep drop off, about 15 to 20 feet, fairly straight down into the low-lying area that is part of the horseshoe. So we believe they come through here, and you can kind of see a little bit of a trail here. They're coming back through these woods. I'll kind of give you a little peek of this. Some of this is washout, but some of this is from animals coming through here. Hogs, everything. You can see they're kind of coming back through here. Now this has all been scraped with a tractor. That's why this is mound up right here. But I think they're coming in and out of here. I've seen an entire group of hogs about 2 weeks ago running right across here in this area. And one of the times that I saw deer here was right over here. So I've scraped this down to try and get a good long view of what this straightaway looks like, because it was blocked off with these overgrown yopons. But there's a transition in the forest here from pine stands. This is the last row of pine, and then it falls off into our old growth low-lying area. And since I'm down here, I'm going to go ahead and take you down here. The plan is right here where I've kind of cut into this. I want to put a feeder right here. From here back to where the stand's going to be, right back there, is roughly about 50 to 60 yards all the way back there. And then I've got this little circle opened up. As you can tell, I beat up those trees. I was actually trying to make a path through. Trees were a little bit big for the tractor. Feeder here, broadcasting around here. And then I've got a good shooting lane for traffic moving from this way, and this way. Now, just because I haven't shown it on the channel before, I'm going to show off a little bit of what the low-lying area looks like. So this is the path I cut through here just by hand a few years ago. that leads through the last row. Oh, we got a spider there. Leads through the last row of pines and gets us into the old growth, low-lying areas. Now this is absolutely beautiful back here. And I know all of the animals are running through this. If you look there, may be hard to see, but that is a drop right at the edge. I'm gonna walk up to the edge of this tree right here. I'm at this tree, and from that stump down to the base of that tree over there, that's probably about 15 to 20 feet lower there than it is here. So it's probably about as low as it is as far away. And as you can see here, I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. You can kind of see, here we go. You can see the growth of the trees on the side of the hillside. So that's the hill going up. And I think these are, if I remember correctly, this is American beech tree, like beech nut. All of these right here with the kind of the flaky bark on it. Big one there. That's probably 36 inches across. These are probably 24, 26 inches across. And so this is my path in here. I'm trying to look at the ground and see if I see any signs of anything, because it has been a while since I've been back here. I think this is probably rutting from the pigs out here, the hogs. And so all this is a nice downhill slope down to my lower area. Eventually what I'd like to do is actually make a path that comes in. As you can tell, we've already walked down about 10-12 feet. I'd like to make a path into here and build a stand somewhere up here overlooking that area. And it's absolutely gorgeous. That low-lying area down there. And there are, well, you can tell, got this little spider right there. We'll try and avoid that one. We'll actually make our way down here. Here's more rutting, as you can tell. Rutting up, it's probably older. Oh, I just stepped in a big pile of crap from something. I don't know what it was, but stuck on my Crocs. We get down here and you could just see that not a lot grows down here because the canopy is so thick. Big, beautiful trees. Like, look at this pine right here. This thing is at least 36 inches across. And it just goes on and on. And so lots of these pines down here are old pines, old oaks, old beech, some magnolias back in here. But this is our low-lying area. I'll actually try and take you over and see if we can see the spring over here. Like, it's been a while since I've been over here to see if it's been flowing, but I would like to establish the spring. Yeah, I see water in the little runoff, but there is definitely several springs in this area, but this is the one that is oh yeah, that is flowing. Lots of good water there, and we haven't even had a good rain in probably a little while. I don't know, a few weeks. But as you can see there, that water is flowing beautifully all the way through here. And so this is a spring, because this comes out of the side of the hill over here. And as you can tell, it runs through here. This is beautiful fresh water. You climb up this hill because it's a little difficult to walk through the spring. come up over this hill. Looks like a lot of rutting has been happening over here. Yeah, so this spring is coming out of this hillside right over here. My clearing is right over there. The place that I took you where the deer stand is back that way. And I walked down this, is where that shooting lane is, right up there. So as you can see, let's see if we can navigate our way down here. You got water.